Mel has made her way to live servers and is looking like one of the most OP champs on release that we have seen in a long time. Generally, new champs start off at a very low win rate and climb their way up throughout the patch, but Mel has been an exception as she's excelling right from the jump. Riot has already gone ahead and hotfix nerfed Mel, so we'll cover those changes and provide you guys with an update on Mel's tier list placement along with an update on the tier list for every single role as we hit the midway mark of S1.2. And do you remember when knowing how to set up a freeze and low elo made you special? These days, you're considered a troll if you don't know what a freeze is. Problem is, challengers are so out of touch with the fact that everyone in low elo has improved, so if you ask for help, you just keep getting the same outdated advice. Or even worse, they give you tips that only work in high elo, like how you should sync up your wave crashes with your teammates in multiple lanes to set up invades or objective priority. The theoretically correct play is usually not what actually works in your own elo. Oftentimes, it's something that may seem out of the ordinary, like split pushing as an ADC that will give you way more agency. We teach you the correct way to play League like everyone else does, but also the adaptations that actually work in your elo, so you'll always have multiple great ideas for what to do to win games. We're constantly producing and updating our strategies with players getting better, so SkillCapped is by far the best platform for learning League of Legends. We're so confident that if you don't climb 5 divisions while actively using SkillCapped, you can claim a full refund. Our service has zero risk with the potential to save you tons of time in your climb, so make sure to give us a try. So one of the best top laners in the game right now, who we have in the OP tier, is Urgot, and one factor that has led to his rise this season that is quite under the radar right now consists of the boots upgrades. Our challenger expert Hector went into detail about this in one of his recent daily updates as he talked about how the swiftness boots upgrade is the most OP in the game, while all other upgrades are pretty mediocre. Urgot, of course, is a champ who can take full advantage of this, as swiftness boots are his most popular boot right now. However, they're definitely not being purchased as much as they should. The Swift March upgrade not only provides you with 10 more movement speed, but you gain 4% bonus total movement speed as well. Especially for a champ like Urgot who lacks consistent mobility, access to all this added movement speed for this season has been amazing for him. The fact Urgot has quite a strong early game as well means that actually acquiring the feats of strength objective is doable for most games, so he can get to that boots upgrade. So overall, champs that can take advantage of swiftness boots the best are loving the new season, and it's a big reason to why Urgot is dominating the top lane meta. Another top lane champ that you really need to be taking advantage of swiftness boots on right now is Darius. If we compare how swiftness boots performed on Darius in 14.24 prior to the boots upgrades being added to the game to 15.1 when they were introduced, you get a better idea of just how much stronger the swiftness boots upgrade is than everything else right now. So in 14.24, the 3 boots most purchased by Darius players were SteelCaps, Mercs, and Swifties. SteelCaps had a 49.3% win rate, Mercs were a 49%, and swiftness boots sat at 53.4. Jump ahead to 15.1 and SteelCaps win rate was 49.6, Mercs at 49.2, and swiftness boots at 54.6. So SteelCaps win rate only went up by 0.3%, Mercs up by 0.2%, while swiftness boots win rate increased by a whole 1.2%. This just goes to show how much stronger the Swift March upgrade is right now compared to the alternative options. So if we have a look at the top lane tier list, there are no major moves to discuss for mid-patch. Riot kept S1.2 extremely light, so the general meta outlook has remained nearly identical to last patch. The Aurelia and Tahm Kench nerfs played out to our expectations as both champs have fallen to around an A tier power level. Other than Darius and Urgot, Garen is another champ really liking swiftness boots in this new season and has seen a nice boost in power because of it. It's actually pretty insane the difference in win rate between Greaves and Swifties on Garen, as Greaves users are only winning 50.5% of the time as opposed to swiftness boots users who are at 53.5%. If the Swift March upgrade does not get nerfed in the coming patches, we would definitely be surprised, so take advantage of it while you can. A jungler who has been on a massive rise in the past 2 patches is Diana. We moved Diana up into the jungle S tier last patch, but she's getting an even further bump up into OP for this one. The main reason for Diana's added push into the OP tier is due to a new bruiser build coming to meta that's giving her a ton of power. You rush Leandries, go Riftmaker second, and then round it out with Unending Despair third for a build that offers the perfect mix of offensive and defensive strength. Team fighting in this new season is more important than it's ever been due to Otacon, and more priority being put on objectives, so by going for this setup on Diana, it provides her with a much stronger 5v5. If you go for Nashers into Lichbane, you will burst a bit better, but you're extremely one-dimensional in the sense that if you don't find that one shot on a squishy target, then you're very squishy yourself, and your overall impact in an extended team fight will be much worse. So definitely try out this new AP Bruiser build on Diana, as it's turned her into a top tier jungler for S1.2. So other than Diana getting a push up into the OP tier, we have a very similar jungle meta to where it was in S1.1. It really didn't take a rocket scientist to understand that the domination rune tree buffs for this patch would do absolutely nothing at all to boost the power of the struggling Electrocute and Dark Harvest users. Even the direct buffs that Evelynn received landed weaker than our expectations, so she's getting moved back down into B tier for mid patch. Even if Riot were to massively buff the second row of the domination tree, we don't think that will help, because the fact all of the domination primary users have lost damage from the removal of eyeball collection is not going to be compensated by giving them better vision control. Vision is just not as important as raw damage is for solo queue in the vast majority of elos. So all in all, continue to stay away from champs like Gragas, Elise, Nidalee, Blue Kayn, Evelynn, and Shaco until Riot either directly buffs them or reverts the domination tree rune changes. Conqueror junglers will continue to dominate the meta for the time being, with Viego, Diana, Amumu, Wukong, and Nocturne being 5 of the best. So the major talking point of S1.2 has been centered around the release of Mel. Mel can be played in either the mid lane or support, however, she is much better suited as a mid laner in her current state. Here are the nerfs that Riot have issued so far, as Mel's passive AP ratio is down from 25 to 10%, Q base damage is down from 13 scaling to 25 to 13 scaling to 23. Mel's R has been hit as well, with base damage and AP ratios going down. So why has Mel been so powerful shortly after her release? The long range poke from Q gives Mel a very easy way to stack up mana flow and get the rune to max stacks extremely fast. Long range Q also makes it so that Mel's early laning is quite hard to punish, as she can sit back a lot farther and CS extremely easily, not only due to the long range, but due to her passive execute damage. Just last hitting in general is super easy with Mel because her passive provides that execute, which means she's able to last hit minions from a much higher health level than another champ in the game. Single target burst power is incredible with Mel due to her R dealing so much damage if you have a bunch of passive stacks on an enemy. Overall, Mel's kit is pretty easy to get a grasp of right away, and you should find success immediately, which is likely why her win rate is so high on release. There are definitely ways for you to express your skill on Mel and make her even more broken, but for the average player, even if you don't know all the ins and outs of the champ, you can still perform just fine with Mel. There are currently 2 viable builds going around on Mel, one that is all about heavy burst and the other brings stronger extended fight power. Luden's into Shadow Flame is most popular right now and will give you lots of burst strength. Archangels with Liandry's and Cosmic Drive is actually Mel's highest win rate core though, and is more centered around spamming abilities more frequently and outlasting in drawn out fights. So the burst build is going to work best for you in games where the enemy champs are majority squishy, while the extended fight build will thrive into more tanks or bruisers. There is one keystone rune that's just a cut above all else right now, and it's Comet. Precision secondary with Presence of Mind and Coup de Grace is what you should prioritize. So even with the hotfix nerfs, Mel remains in an extremely powerful spot for solo queue and will be placed in the mid lane OP tier. So for the mid lane tier list, it's just going to be the OP tier that is changing for mid patch as Mel moves up. As we noted when covering jungle, domination tree rune buffs were extremely negligible, and champs who are reliant on taking domination as their primary tree are suffering as a result. Champs like Fizz, Zed, Katarina, LeBlanc, Akali, and Kiana are just so much weaker right now compared to the majority of mages, as Assassin have really been hurt for this new season. The only mid lane assassin who's actually finding some decent success right now is Kassadin, and that's mainly due to the fact he can actually run Comet instead of Electrocute right now, which is something we touched in our OP builds video for S1.2. Other than Kassadin though, there is not a single assassin who has a win rate above 50% for S1.2, which is pretty crazy. An ADC who you really need to stop sleeping on for S1.2 and a great pick in meta is Twitch. With the buffs to Yuntal this patch, Twitch has taken another step forward and is excelling above pretty much every other ADC besides Misfortune. The Twitch build winning the most that you'll want to try for this patch consists of a Yuntal rush into IE second and Hurricane third. This season has been really good for Twitch because he's not only benefited from the Yuntal buffs, but the introduction of the Axiom Arcanist rune has been phenomenal for him too. Sorcery secondary running Arcanist is now Twitch's unanimous best rune setup for solo queue and is a key reason to his high standing in meta. So for now, we're going to be leaving Twitch in the ADC S tier as we still think Misfortune is a cut above all else, but if you don't want to play MF, Twitch should definitely be an alternative consideration. So looking at the complete ADC tier list, it's still going to be Misfortune as the lone OP pick. There are still some really strong S tier ADCs right now as well, like Corki, Twitch, and Jinx, but MF remains highest priority. Jinx is an ADC who has gotten stronger this patch due to the Yuntal buffs and is right up there with Twitch as being one of its best users. Smolder was the only ADC who got directly buffed for this patch, and as expected, the buff was pretty fake. Buff did not do anywhere near enough to move Smolder into a competitive state for solo queue, so continue to avoid him unless you are extremely proficient on the champ. It's actually quite surprising that Riot did not buff Ashe for this patch, because after the nerfs she received in S1.1, she's been absolute garbage. All in all, there are some very clear winners and very clear losers for the ADC role right now, and if we had to choose 3 champs to prioritize and 3 champs to avoid, this is what we'd advise. Twitch, Misfortune, and Jinx are the 3 ADCs you should highly consider playing right now, while Ashe, Smolder, and Aphelios are the 3 to stay away from. So even though Mel is not quite as strong as a support right now compared to mid lane, she's definitely still worthwhile to pick up. Mel is actually finding most success in the support role when being picked into melee supports as opposed to ranged enchanters. With Mel's long range, she can sit back outside of melee champs' engage ranges pretty easily, and if the enemy does try to engage, her W can be used as a nice defensive tool. The issue against enchanters like Nami or Lulu is that the poke just won't stick as much due to the heals and shields, so you're not able to gain as much value from that long range when playing against a double range duo. It's still early on, but it does look like a lot of Mel support players are running the incorrect rune page right now. What's been finding the most success on Mel support is not the same as mid lane. Mid lane Mel does really well with precision secondary, however, support Mel is winning more with domination. Domination secondary, taking cheap shot and grizzly mementos, is outperforming presence of mind and coup de grace. So for Mel support's tier list placement, we're adding her to the B tier as an average support pickup. So other than Mel being added to the support tier list, the only other adjustment we are making for mid-patch is moving Yuumi up into the A tier. Buffs have actually turned out to be slightly more impactful than what we were expecting, as Yuumi has gained about 1.5% win rate. We were more so expecting a 0.5% push up, so a whole 1.5% added is actually quite significant. The reason we weren't expecting much is due to the majority of the changes being AP ratio buffs, and support champs usually not benefiting as much from ratio changes. However, in this instance, the buffs have landed pretty well for Yuumi. Yuumi is still a support that you really don't want to be blind picking though, as she excels with certain ADCs, but is completely useless with others. Right now, Yuumi with Twitch, Zeri, or Lucian is your best bet, while you want to avoid playing her with Ezreal, Jhin, and Ashe. It's actually despicable how low the win rate is for the Ezreal-Yuumi duo, despite it being played so much, as it's sitting around 44%. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top-tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCapped.com and see the difference. So there you have it, everyone, a quick mid-patch update on the solo queue tier list for every single role. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.